is Lawrence Okolie, the next in line. The bell sounds that we're underway, the first of a scheduled 12 rounds, and it's Glowacki who decides to get onto the front foot, holding his ground in the centre of the ring, flicking jabs in the early part of this contest from Okolie, many saying that the power-packed right hand could be the key to the outcome of the contest. A very quiet first 30 seconds with Glowacki boxing pretty much from a crouch behind his southpaw stance, tends to loop an overhand left in a kind of arc of a journey through to the opponent's chin. He's had 19 inside the distance victories, has Glowacki, as he takes a sharp jab from Okolie on the right hand side of his face. He holds his own right hand, the lead hand slightly low, so there is room for Okolie to find a home for that left-hand jab over the top. He steps in, Okolie. You hear him snorting as he throws his punches, but for most of the time so far, they've been out of distance. Just very slightly apprehensive, Okolie. Now he tries that right hand. Applause from his corner, over in the blue corner, furthest away from our position here as we move into the second minute of the opening round. Okolie leaning back a lot of the time, potentially away from that dangerous right hand of Okolie. Okolie moving around towards his right, trying to position himself to throw that big booming right hand. He throws a jab and then a kind of hook come uppercut towards the body of Glowacki, but the pole leant in towards it, although managed to negate most of the potential danger by deflecting it with his glove. Okolie is using that left hand as the range finder, hasn't really driven home the big right hand so far, the right hand that caused pretty much the danger for Glowacki, another Pole who was beaten inside the distance in Okolie's last performance here in this ring on the Anthony Joshua versus Kubrat Pulev undercard in the middle of December. Now it's Okolie who's taking up a stance in the centre of the ring for pretty much the first time in the round, having been on the back foot close to the ropes for most of the first couple of minutes. And now Glowacki tries to open up with that looping left hand that I spoke about earlier in the round. It just grazes the jaw of Okolie. Okolie has been busy behind the left hand, both to the chin and most recently now flicking it to the body of Glowacki. Glowacki still with that high held guard, looking for the openings for that looping left hand. Okolie rushes in with the right hand. Okolie, and Glowacki should I say, sees it coming and makes Okolie miss. Okolie is clearly going to have to work harder for his openings here than he did against another Pole, Glowacki, just before Christmas. This is a step up in class, as you'd expect. A world title at stake, a world title previously held by the man in opposition here this evening, Krzysztof Glowacki, at 34 years of age. But after almost 2 years out of the ring, is activity going to be a factor here as the fight wears on? Coming to the last few seconds of the opening round. Looping right hand from Okolie is easily avoided by Glowacki. End of the first round. Steve Bunce, your thoughts?
Quality rounds, first of all, Mike. Absolute quality round. I love the way Glowacki is getting his right foot outside of Okolie's lead foot. Sounds a bit technical. Bear with me for 1 second. What that means is it's making Okolie adjust every single second. So just as Okolie's getting ready to fire a shot, out goes that foot from Glowacki. He's doing well here, Okolie, but you mentioned there, Mike, he's having to think more than he did in his last fight. No, he's having to think more than he's done since he lost in the Olympics in 2016, Joe. This is a hard fight for him tonight.
Yeah, definitely hard, because Glowacki knows exactly what he's doing, and he's keeping his his right foot on the outside of Okolie's to, get in the right position. But Okolie's working well with his jab, so he's keeping him long range, and being 6'5", he's big like a spider, and he's keeping him at range.
Heading into the second round then. Lawrence Okolie making a bright start behind the left hand, although nothing of any real significance landed by either man over the course of that first 3 minutes. And now Okolie steps in and throws a left-hand jab and then an ungainly looking right hook, but I saw him working on the pads in the Fight Bubble, a hotel across the road from here during the week, and they were practicing that punch towards the torso area time and time again. It's more of a hook than a straight shot, and it wings its way round, and it caused a lot of damage against Glowacki in that fight just before Christmas, the fight that broke up a long period of inactivity for Okolie. How important will that be here this evening as this contest wears on? 40 seconds gone in round two. Okolie standing off, trying to use that longer reach. He has a 7-inch reach advantage at 6'5". He's considerably taller than Glowacki. And now applause again from Okolie's corner as he rams in another one of those right hooks to the body. And now he tries to open up. Glowacki this time throws a left hand to the body. Good work by the pole. Solid shot into the torso area of Okolie. Okolie moving around again towards his right hand, flicking out the left hand as he moves, trying to keep his distance, trying to deter Glowacki from moving into range and trying to deny him the opportunities to close that gap between them at the moment. Glowacki hasn't had any real successes. Certainly nothing to worry Okolie or those in his corner, headed by Shane McGuigan. Halfway stage of round number 2, a scheduled 12-rounder for the vacant WBO Cruiserweight Championship of the World. Is Lawrence Okolie, the question that's been asked at the fight bubble this week, the next in line? Nice right hand towards the torso area from Okolie. That right hand really has been ramming home, and the head of Glowacki into the jaw of Lawrence Okolie. You understand here is the warning from Marcus McDonald, just threatening Glowacki that he'll take a point away for illegal use of the head if he transgresses in that kind of fashion again. Lovely jab from Okolie lands on the right-hand side of the face of Glowacki. The face of Glowacki becoming slightly more reddened as that jab from Okolie finds its way through to the jaw of the former world champion. Jab to the head again, right hand to the body from Okolie. This time didn't really fire them off with the necessary accuracy. He fires in that right hand again. It was taken on the elbow this time from Glowacki, blocked it on its way through to the body. Another looping right hand from Okolie, but this time he almost walked onto a jab as punishment for missing with that particular shot. Into the final 25 seconds of this, the second round, and still Okolie trying to keep it at range. Still hasn't really found a home for that big right hand over the top onto the jaw of Glowacki. Glowacki, a seasoned campaigner, only beaten in world title fights previously in his career. Big step up this for Lawrence Okolie, but so far he's looking accomplished. He's looking confident, almost arrogant at times. He flicks out the jab. Glowacki makes him miss. End of the second round. Joe Joyce, you were with Lawrence Okolie on the Olympic team in 2016. What do you make of that second round?
Thought it was a good second round. He was keeping it long, and they were both like battling to get each other's foot on the outside. There's a little cheeky stepping on the toes, and also a little bit of head play with Glowacki. So it is, it's very, and he's stalking him and looking for a right hook. So it's looking exciting in here. So I'm looking forward to the next round.
That's interesting, that, Joe, because it's a tense fight. There's not a lot going on, but it's just starting to get a bit of momentum. And at some point, he's going to land Okolie with that big right, and then we're going to find out what Glowacki does. Don't rule out Glowacki pulling that short left of his over, Mike. He's missed it a couple of times. I got it 2 rounds to Okolie. 2 rounds to Okolie.
Next Saturday night, the rematch between Dillian Whyte and Alexander Povetkin on 5 Live from Gibraltar as the big fight series continues. Jab from Glowacki gets through, then a follow-up left hand also gets through. Confident start to the third round by Glowacki, perhaps told by his corner. He would know anyway with his experience that he's behind, certainly on our cards, the first 2 rounds to Okolie. Left hand again from Glowacki. Glowacki warming to the task here, aiming to land that left hand 3 times already in the first half a minute of this, the third round, and he's landed a couple of times with it, although to his credit Okolie has looked completely untroubled, took those shots well, and Glowacki often leans back out of the way of those shots that Okolie is throwing, so by the time they reach the intended target, Glowacki is leaning away, so that even if they do connect, most of the time the power is being negated by that leaning back action of Glowacki. He steps onto the front foot, the pole, swaying from the waist, trying to present a moving target to Okolie. Applause from Okolie's corner and a few of his friends and family here at ringside. Maybe about 60 or 70 people here at ringside, including the British Boxing Board of Control officials. Behind closed doors at Wembley Arena, as we've been for so long now during these pandemic times, and we've seen so many shock results. But Okolie is the odds-on favourite here as Glowacki throws the right-hand jab and it gets a bit messy on the inside. The referee tells them to let go and to separate, move away and to box on. Okolie, with that longer reach of his, is flicking out that left hand but without really dominating the contest with it. It is for sure keeping Glowacki thinking and keeping Glowacki busy and denying him the chance to get set with planned attacks. A lovely jab, this time does land solidly from Okolie on the right-hand side of the head of Glowacki. One of the better jabs of the round so far. Then he flicks out another one. Again it lands. And a third time in a row it lands, but not as powerfully as the first of those 3 jabs. Good work from Okolie. A looping right hook from Glowacki as he tries to make it untidy on the inside. He punches away on the inside. The referee separates them once again. Okolie steps off, flicks out that jab. They're both in the centre of the ring with 40 seconds to go in this, the 3rd round. Glowacki wings in a big left hand. Okolie saw it coming, made him miss. Replied with a lovely left hook underneath the right elbow of Glowacki. Good solid punching here from Okolie after a bright start to the round by the pole. Glowacki got off to a good start in this round, but Okolie has taken back control, pretty much behind the left hand, but with 1 or 2 solid body shots as well. He steps around towards his right, flicks out a jab. Beautiful, solid ramrod jab from Okolie, and that eventually you would sense would present him with a chance to ping in the right hand behind it. But he's being very, not exactly cautious, but just professional at this stage of his 3rd round, first world title fight. Another brilliant array of jabs at the end of that round, Steve Bunce.
Sensible boxing, technical boxing, proper boxing. You do get the feeling that Okolie can drop that right hand in, but he's leaning so far away, Glowacki, it would mean that Okolie would have to take a risk. And Mike, I don't want him to take a risk. There's no need to take a risk in this fight until he senses, and he's the one that's in there, senses just how tired his opponent is, because he can whip in that short southpaw left and right. And I tell you, he's still dangerous, this Polish fighter. Glowacki's still dangerous here, Joe, if Okolie gets overconfident.
Yeah, it's definitely a close, exciting fight, and you don't really know quite what's going to happen yet because, you know, they both come in with exchanges that look like damaging and powerful, and, you know, it's we're just warming into the fight, so anything can happen.
You hear the timekeepers shout, round 4 of a schedule 12 for the vacant WBO Cruiserweight Championship, World Championship boxing here on BBC 5 Live, as Glowacki tries to get on the front foot, but he's met with a couple of jabs from Okolie. It's been brilliant behind that left hand so far over the course of the first 3 rounds. We've given Okolie the first 3 rounds of this, his first World Championship contest in only his 16th professional outing. It's been a confident start by Okolie, but everybody you talk to around him, as Joe Joyce was telling us earlier on, talks about the confidence of Lawrence Okolie, the self-confidence. That from a man who was bullied in his early primary school days and does a lot of work in terms of anti-bullying and how he can build on that status if he becomes a world champion. Flicks out the left hand. Glowacki, urged by his corner to step forward. He tries a right jab, but it was way short of the distance, and he's getting a little bit wary now, is Glowacki, of that left hand of Okolie, which is ramrod-like and time and again frequently just being fired into the right-hand side of the former champion's face. Good work behind the left hand from Okolie, but he's pretty much not thrown that right hand to the chin so far. He tries it this time after a left hook. He swung a right hook, should I say, and it didn't quite find the target. Tries another one of those right hands to Okolie, then follows up with a left hook. It's the right hand that's described as the danger punch of Okolie's by those who've sparred with him and those who've been in the professional ring with him, as he steps away around to his right now, again to try to find room and to get himself set with the right foot, the back foot driving through. He tries that right hand after landing a solid jab. Again, he's applauded by those in his corner, which we can hear so clearly now, unlike when the big crowds are in arenas like this, and we hope they're back only too soon. Right hand from Okolie does get through, and this time a second one in the centre of the ring for the first time in the contest now. Okolie is finding a home for the right hand. He steps up the pressure, flicks out the jab on the centre of the ring now. He flicks out 2 successive jabs. Noticeably now he's getting through cleaner and more frequently than he's done so far with that left hand, and certainly the right hand over the top. And now Glowacki is looking a bit flustered now as he backs off, steps away towards Okolie's own corner, the blue corner. Okolie stepping up the pressure, flicks a jab towards the body. He's got the right hand cocked as if he's about to throw that over as well. He tries it, but Glowacki slips underneath at this stage. Brilliant work across 3.5 rounds and more with the left hand by Okolie, and now he goes to the body with another one of those To be so accurate over the course of the first 4 rounds so far. Last few seconds of round 4, and a noticeable upping of the tempo from Okolie, in particular landing solid right hands in this round behind the jab as we step into the last few seconds of this, the 4th round now. Steve Bunce.
Mike, it's just what happened there. It was quite sudden. He was loose, he was relaxed, Okolie, and suddenly he found one shot. Then he found a second shot, and quite odd. Glowacki really showed he was hurt, really showed he was flustered. The interesting point now, Joe. Okay, we're 4 rounds in. I think Lawrence Okolie has won all of the rounds comfortably, not by long, but he's won them comfortably. Glowacki now has to take a risk, otherwise he's going to get picked apart, stopped on his feet after about 9 or 10 rounds. He has to take a risk. He has to try and get closer. He has to be more aggressive.
Yeah, I agree. He's Okolie's definitely looking more comfortable in there, and he's like landing them, jab, uppercut, left hook, jab, uppercut, and jab, right hook, like long right hook, and it seems to be landing. So Glowacki's going to have to come up with something to get out of the way of that and counter with something better, because it's slipping away now.
Into round 5 then of the Cruiserweight World Championship contest for the WBO title between Lawrence Okolie and the former holder Krzysztof Glowacki of Poland. And Okolie has made a very bright start, really stepping on the gas in that 4th round, the previous round, landing solid right hands that made Glowacki look uncomfortable, building on the good work behind the left-hand jab built up over the course of the first 9 minutes, the first 3 rounds. Glowacki goes to the body, the torso area, with a jab. He's met with solid jabs to the head, though, and he sways from the waist and tries to limit the damage as Okolie now holds his ground in the centre of the ring. Okolie's done a lot of work on the back foot, especially behind the jab, but in the last round, noticeably, he stepped forward and landed solidly with the right hand. Glowacki trying to stand his ground in the centre of the ring. He's got a very wide stance, and as Steve said, tries to plant that right foot outside of the left foot of Okolie, which can produce a significant tactical advantage in terms of landing solid shots accurately and clinically. Jab from the left hand of Okolie is the best shot again so far in the early stages of this, the 5th round. He really has dominated behind that raking left hand. He's got a 7-inch reach advantage, and he's really made it tell over the course of the contest so far. Glowacki just rubs his head into the chin of Okolie. He's been warned by the referee Marcus McDonnell earlier in the fight, and once again in this, the 5th round. We're at the halfway stage of a very smart performance so far from Lawrence Okolie, who sways from the waist. There's almost a swagger in the work that he's doing now. He throws a hook to the head, then a right hand to the body. Tries a right hand over the top. Didn't quite get through. Tried a second one. And again, it really just cuffed the top of the head of Glowacki, who covers up well with the elbows a lot of the time for those shots that are headed towards the torso area. But in the previous round, a couple of strong right hands did get through to the chin. A jab this time from Okolie. He's been working again behind that left-hand jab this round. Looping overhand left from Glowacki. Again, Okolie sees it coming and just stepped back out of range, sufficiently back far enough to make Glowacki miss. Glowacki has to think about his opportunities here, and he's wary of the power of that right hand coming at him from Okolie, and he's got to all the time find his way around that long looping left-hand jab of Okolie, which has been so dominant. It's been the single most dominant punch of the contest so far as we head to the final 30 seconds of round 5. Okolie in the centre of the ring. That left hand is now down by his waist as he flicks it out, lands on the high part of the head of Glowacki. The pole is swaying from the waist on the way in, but he's still pretty predictable. And now there's blood on the right-hand side of the face of Glowacki, the right-hand side of his face, which has been peppered with left-hand jabs from Okolie across the course of the first almost 15 minutes of this contest so far. Okolie swaying from the waist in his own corner, backs up onto the ropes, allows Glowacki forward. Glowacki throws one after the bell as he makes his way back to the corner with a bloodied face. Let's go over to Shane McGuigan in the Okolie corner for the first time this evening.
Centre is the most important thing for you, yeah? Centre of the ring, okay?
Not taking off city structure.
Jabbing and feinting, okay? When he overreaches on that first shot now, step back and bring it up and counter him, okay?
Okay.
To Joe Joyce, the centre of the ring, jabbing and feinting. That's the advice from Shane McGuigan in the corner, and that's pretty much what he's been doing.
Yeah, I would agree, because it's great tactics, because he's got such a big height and reach advantage over Glowacki. So he's working well. He's landing a jab every time, and there's not much. Glowacki needs to maybe come in a bit closer, get in range, but Okolie's still stepping out of range. So he's got a job on his hands to get some get the rate, get in close and put his shots together.
Thoughts of Joe Joyce, GB Olympic teammate of Lawrence Okolie in the Rio Olympics 5 years ago nearly now. And Joe Joyce, the winner of a silver medal, now making his way in the professional ranks, and Okolie steps off as Glowacki tries his latest attack, tried to crowd in on Okolie and to work away on the inside, but Okolie keeping his distance, throws a jab, then a looping right hand that was aimed towards the body, but Glowacki, as he's done a few times in this contest, bent his knees and ducked into it, almost ducked into the danger, and a right hand from Okolie lands flush on the jaw of Glowacki. Glowacki is flat on his back after 40 seconds of the 6th round. He looks dazed, he looks befuddled, he gets up, the referee waves his arms, and it's all over with a single pinpoint right hand from Lawrence Okolie.